welcome back to yet another TBR video. This one though, we're gonna change it up. I'm not gonna randomize the books, and I'm also not gonna do a monthly TBR because we all know how bad I am with them. Remember how I picked out that TBR 2 months ago? And then at the beginning of this month, I told you I'm definitely gonna read all of them. I haven't read a single one of them. So, I have given up on the monthly TBRs. What I have not given up on are the vibey TBRs. So instead, I thought it would be fun to show you all the books that I was planning on reading this summer. So in this video, we are going through my summer TBR, and I'm gonna show you all the books that I plan on reading in summer. Now, I'm doing this specifically because it's been raining for 4 days, which I like, okay? I'm not a big summer girl. I like my summer to happen in books, and actually books only. So I put on a summery outfit even though it's currently pouring outside. Now, the reason I'm filming this is one book in particular, and that is the first one we're starting out with. This is Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. It came out yesterday, okay? I ran to the bookstore today and I was like, I need this. Also, I've been in pain and I had physical therapy today, so I was going there and I was like, treat yourself. And I did treat myself to this book. I have a feeling that it is gonna be problematic and a summery romance. Who would have thought? I think the problematic part about it is that it's an age gap. Actually, I haven't read the back. I read the first 2 sentences of the back, and they tell me that Maya is 23 and then Connor is 38. And Maya can't stop thinking about Connor. So definitely an age gap, which could make it problematic, but I feel like there's more things than an age gap to make a book problematic. Yes, we're back in science! Oh, thank goodness. I don't want Ali Hazelwood to leave the science bubble, alright? I'm here for the sciencey romance. Successful biotech guy and struggling grad student. I am also a struggling grad student. Love it. The thing that I like about Ali Hazelwood books, and specifically probably will like about this one, is that she talks about the power imbalance that a relationship like that could have. What usually bothers me a lot about age gap romances is that it's not actually a big part of the storyline. Well, I'm not talking about the mafia romances that I read sometimes where she just turned 18 and he's being praised for her actually being legal when they get married, which is a weird concept. I have a feeling that in this one, I'm gonna get them actually going through the struggle that he is much older, which I feel I'm gonna like. I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna gobble this up. Now, by the time you're seeing this, it's the end of May. Tomorrow is the 1st of June, which to me is officially the first day of summer. Will I be reading this tonight and probably will be done by the time you're seeing this video? Probably yes. I can't wait. Anyway, this is number 1 on my summer TBR, and I don't think I will have any patience for waiting for this book. Because it's Ali Hazelwood. I love reading Ali Hazelwood books. Another book on my shelf that just screams summer romance at me is Beach Rivals. Now, I don't really know what this is gonna be, right? It's an enemies to lovers, and it says beach. And do I know why I own it? No. I don't have any recollection of ever buying this, but I probably did at some point. Oh my goodness, this sounds amazing. So our female main character, I think her name is Claire. Yes. Claire thought her life would be vastly different, but she is still living with her mom and she has a job that she hates. So she takes up a bookseller position in Bali on the beach. However, she's not the only one at this bookstore working, because there's a guy who works the bookstore with her. And I'm gonna guess they have chemistry. The back says it's a feel-good summer romance. You had me at Feel Good Summer Romance. I didn't need to read anything more. But I'm gonna guess that this is kind of like Enemies to Lovers-ish. No idea, but very excited. The cover is also kind of giving Emily Henry, and I'm living for it. Most of these books are gonna be romances, by the way, because weirdly enough, fantasy books are more of a fall seasonal thing and not a summery thing. If you have any fantasy book recommendations that are set in summer, please tell me. I would be very happy to read them. However, I feel like they're almost always a little more moody and a little more rainy and a little more fallish. Anyway, Fake Dates and Mooncakes is next. This has been on my TBR for a few months now, and it's been on my Kindle since almost day 1 of me getting a Kindle 2.5 years ago. It's been so long already. Best decision of my life ever. Anyway, this is Fake Dates and Mooncakes, which is a queer romance, cutesy something. Honestly, from just looking at the cover, I would guess one of them's a baker and one of them's politician, teacher, whatever. I'm getting vibes. And then they decide to fake date for like image reasons. Let me check though. That was just from looking at the cover. Okay, so we have Dylan, and Dylan is a struggling student, and he works at his aunt's Chinese takeout restaurant while juggling school, and he needs to win a baking competition, I feel like, for mooncakes, which is why it says fake dates at mooncakes. And then we have Theo Summers, who is a charming, wealthy customer who convinces Dylan to be his fake date to his family wedding, full of crazy rich drama. Okay, I'm gonna out myself. One of my absolute comfort movies is Crazy Rich Asians. Honestly, I know the movie's not that good, but it's just, it hits the right spot, and just reading about crazy rich drama just puts me right in that moment. So I am so happy to have this on my radar for this month. But with the mooncake contest coming up, Dylan can't risk being distracted by rich people problems. Can he save his business and follow his heart, or will he fail to do both? Dylan, my boy, we're gonna figure it out together. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you bake some mooncakes, and then you're gonna be happy in a romantic relationship, and I can successfully third wheel. That is just my dream. Okay, with most of these fictional couples, I just want to be the fun best friend, right? I live for being the third wheel. If it is in real life or in romance books, I don't really care. But I'm just here for the vibes. And this feels like it's gonna give me summery vibes full of stuff. Also, it's set in New York, so that's always a good thing. In case you didn't know, I am actually from New York. Even though people have told me that my accent doesn't sound like anything. People have told me that I have like an international school accent, which I'm not mad about. Yeah, fake dates and mooncakes. Why are we talking about my accent all of a sudden? Alrighty! Next up, we have Love on Paper. This is a romance. That's about all I know about it. I've seen a Tumblr, and I've seen some kind of baked good, and I've seen a typewriter, and all I thought was summer romance. Let me check though if I'm actually correct, if this is a summer romance, or if I'm just making things up as I go. Which sometimes also fun concept, however not when you're actually trying to introduce books to people. So Macy, our main character, has a writer as a mother, and her mother pulled some strings to get her into a writer's retreat. But Macy isn't actually a real fan of romance. I'm gonna be guessing, the back doesn't say, that she like wants to be a thriller writer or something. However, the theme of the writing retreat is romance. And she gets paired up with a guy who's also like a writing nepo baby, which is a fun way of saying things. And his name is Caleb. And they have a family feud going on. A family feud, people. We are having so much fun with the enemies to lovers recently. There is also a mystery. Okay, this is perfection. I'm sorry. There is a mystery and a romance. What more could you ask for? Absolutely nothing. This sounds amazing. Sometimes I am so proud of the books that past me has picked up. No words, just excitement. I am ready for this. I love a good mystery romance combination. It's my favorite thing ever. Anyway, let's move on. Another book that has a similar preface, but also not similar at all, The Romance Rivalry. I saw this at the bookstore today and I was like, do I get it? And then I saw that the price was reduced. The back says $22.95, which is just not cool. But then when I looked it up, the internet said that the book was just $12.50, and I was like, say less. So I bought it because I was saving $10. I essentially made $10. Girl math. Anyway, this is about a romance reviewer reader. So essentially she is me, but also not entirely because we look totally different. But she is a book reviewer and she is in college. And then in college, our main character, she meets this guy, okay? Is his name Aiden? Yes. Oh, wow. I remember that. Okay, I read the back today. What? Who is she? Anyway, Aiden is also a book reviewer. Both of them are book reviewers. So Aiden challenges her to a battle of who can find love with like a trope first in real life. And then they go head to head. And it takes them a pretty long time apparently to realize that they're actually the tropes themselves because they are currently living enemies to lovers. So good. But I think that's what's gonna happen. I don't know yet. All right, but it looked perfect. It's also very floppy, so I had to get it again. I saved $10. sounded perfect to me, so that's what I did. Also, the cover looks adorable. Like, I don't know who's asking, but I am here for this book and I subscribe to this message. One of the books that I actually do plan on reading pretty soon is a series that I showed you in my last video, which was the book haul. I'm gonna link it for you. So if you want to check out all the books I recently got, I got a few. This is A Deal with the Devil. These are all like grumpy sunshine romances. And this is like a Hollywood romance. So she has an internship and then they meet on set and he's like a womanizer. This is kind of gonna be a cute one, I hope, I think. I have high hopes, high dreams, and high goals, apparently, if I'm gonna read all these romances by the end of the summer. By the way, if you want to take any guesses and speculations whether or not I'm gonna be able to actually read all of them, you can tell me. I can't promise anything. Like, I am over the point where I'm gonna be able to be taken seriously anymore if I tell you that I will actually be reading all of them. Because we all know that I won't be. Anyway, A Deal with the Devil sounds summery, maybe it's just LA. But I feel like LA is like mostly summer all the time. I've actually been to LA. It was kind of a nightmare because I don't like people much when I'm outside, or the sun, or the heat. But this is set in LA, which is so much more fun for me because I can sit in my room with a blanket while reading this. And they're sweating, and it's not me. I might also hate it because I'm technically allergic to my own sweat, which might be TMI, but I think we're also over that point. Anyway, that's A Deal with the Devil. And then for the last purely romance book, I have Better Than Revenge. I know, technically, this isn't a summer romance. Better Than Revenge is like a high school situation, I think. Our main character, Finley, she wants to become a famous podcaster. She wants to have this really cool podcast. So she wants to join the school's podcast team. However, her boyfriend, who is absolutely football obsessed, also joins the podcast and steals her idea, and she's just angry and confused at that point. At least that's what I'm getting so far. But then Finley decides to take revenge because she realizes she's actually kind of good at football. So she now joins the football team and is trained by Theo, who is her boyfriend's nemesis, ex-boyfriend. I don't know. Are they still together at this point? Anyway, she's gonna get revenge by probably getting with his nemesis, which sounds fun. Revenge is such a healthy coping mechanism. But we all know why I bought this book, simply because Fear Now, Taylor's version, is amazing, and Better Than Revenge is also amazing. Anyway, Better Than Revenge is on the board for this summer. I feel like I have some great picks in here. Let's quickly talk about the only summer thriller that I had on my shelf. I have some thrillers, so I present to you the only summery thriller I could find on my shelf. Liar's Beach. This is about Lyndon, and he is kind of like an outsider, and he spends his summer holidays at his best friend's vacation home, and he is just surrounded by rich people with privileges, so he feels totally out of place. But then suddenly there is a body in the pool, and everybody is a suspect, including him. And I'm guessing this is him trying to figure out what actually happens, because it's not him, but maybe it was him, which would be a fun twist. You rarely read books where you have the main character trying to figure out what happened, and then it's been him all along. That would be such a fun twist. Honestly, I bought this book without ever really knowing what it is about. I just bought it because it's a young adult thriller, and I personally prefer young adult thrillers over adult thrillers because they mostly also have a different plotline, and you're not just following one person who would probably benefit from therapy, because that's kind of what I feel like adult thrillers are like. So that's Liar's Beach. I hope that it's kind of gonna give me Outer Banks energy. That's kind of what I'm getting, but I don't know. Let's move on to the Devonports. I'm trying not to flash you too much with the cover because it's very reflective. So The Devonports is the first book in a series, and it's like 1910s US, and the Devonports is like one of the only black rich families. And this is about all their kids. I think there's like 3 or 4 daughters, and it's just gonna be drama. I'm kind of thinking like the way that I enjoyed American Royals, I'm imagining this one, but make it a little more criticizing politics and inclusive. I'm just excited for it, okay? I got it because I was like, hold your horses, historical romance and me, we match, all right? We have a deal. And so I got it and I was happy about it and I think the cover is beautiful and honestly, I just want to read it. I want to read it and I want to tell you all about it. It's been sitting on my shelf and I've been looking at it for a while and I've been like, you and I, we're gonna have a great time together. So that's the plan, reading the Devonports sometime this year. Now we're moving into a more fantasy kind of ish vibes situation. Yes, I've found a few. Sticking with the kind of historical romance fantasy, we have The Rose Bargain. It's also one of my recent additions, but this is like a historical fantasy romance. We have our main character, Ivy, and Ivy is part of the like social season and she joins in. She has to give a very important big childhood memory to the queen, and then the queen will grant her a wish. However, she just wants to know what happened to her sister who disappeared. And then the queen also announces that the prince is gonna be looking for a bride, so thinking like kind of Cinderella-ish. I'm never saying no to a Cinderella remake, okay? I love Cinderella. It's one of my favorite fairy tales, like the original, not the Cinderella story, like the original fairy tale. I have devoured that so much as a child, like the real one. The kind of morbid one, where the sisters are cutting off half their feet. That one. That's the one I like. Anyway, that's The Rose Bargain and I'm very excited for it. I actually did find another few fantasy books that are kind of summery. This one is Flower Heart. Now, I don't necessarily know if this is really like summery, but it has flowers on the cover. And the back says that the book feels like a garden in full bloom, vibrant, sweet, whimsical, and wondrous. Those are all some pretty big words that I absolutely love, especially in this combination. So we are following Clara, our main character, and her magic has always been kind of wild, but then suddenly she accidentally poisons her father by letting poisonous flowers grow inside of his chest, and her childhood best friend, who's now kind of a little more reserved and we don't really know what's going on with him, he's the only one who can help her save her dad, but he wants something in return. I don't know what yet, but it seems to be kind of outrageous. The two of them then obviously start helping each other. I'm guessing I'm smelling an enemies to lovers. Well, actually, no. I'm smelling friends to enemies to lovers. Or rather, friends to strangers to enemies to lovers. It's getting more and more complicated the further I go, but the cover was beautiful, which is the biggest reason I bought it. Also, kind of witchy, whimsical, love it, and honestly, I'm just excited for it. Anyway, that is Flower Heart. And then I have a book, well, a series that I've said I would read like months ago. And I will be reading this series this summer. I'm of course talking about An Ember in the Ashes. I have had this series on my radar pretty much for like years. Like this came out 2015 and I am so late to the party. I am 5 years late to the party. An Ember in the Ashes follows the story of two people, and it follows the concept of her being a slave and him being a soldier. Neither of them are free. So I'm smelling a revolution, and I'm also smelling like just a great plot. I have heard that this is obviously pretty heavy on the plot and not so heavy on the romance, although it has a little bit of it, which seems like just the right thing to do in a fantasy book. I just love it. Honestly, what more could I want? What I know so far is that she is at some point going to help the rebels because her brother has been arrested, and she becomes a spy for them. And then she's probably gonna meet the soldier who is also not free, and then she realizes that actually nobody really is free. That's what I'm getting. But I'm very excited. I've heard so many good things about it. Like so many people have absolutely loved this book, so I don't know why I'm so late to the party, but I'm gonna join in. And I'm gonna love it. So yeah, that's An Ember in the Ashes. And then the last kind of summary book that I could find, and hear me out on that one, is What the River Knows. This is the fairy tale edition of it, which is stunning and beautiful. Now, this book, as far as I know, is set in Egypt, which sounds amazing. I used to have this one book that I devoured when I was a kid. I don't have it anymore. It's gone. I don't know why I don't have some of my favorite books from when I was a child anymore, but that one was just so much fun. It was about Egyptian gods and goddesses, and I absolutely loved this. So I'm hoping that this can kind of get me back in the world of Egyptian gods and goddesses. Egyptian mythology is such a cool place to be at. So our main character in this book is originally from Buenos Aires, and she then gets a letter that her parents passed away on like one of their adventures. So she travels to Cairo to figure out what happened to them. I think that's mostly the plot. This sounds amazing. It sounds perfect. I'm ready for it. I don't know what else to say, except that I am super, super excited to read this book. And I kind of feel like it could be summery, like deserty summery. But it's more of a mystery fantasy than a fantasy, which I also do love. So yeah, that was it. So yeah, that was my summer TBR. Let me know if there are any books that you would want to add to this, when your books where you're saying, Vivian, you need to pick this up this summer. It's time. I am here for more books with summer vibes, specifically more fantasy books with summer vibes. However, I'm also open to romance suggestions. We all know that I've been letting the fantasy kind of drag behind me, which I want to change. But it's kind of hard to change when your brain is already working on so much and you just want to chill in the chair with the dragon. This is Moon Plume, by the way. If you know what book that name is from, I am so happy. If you don't know, maybe you should read When the Moon Hatched. Anyway, off topic. Let's get back to the video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe if you don't already, and I will see you for the next video that I make. Bye everyone, and have an awesome day. You best believe that I will be sitting back on that chair now reading Problematic Summer Romance. I don't know what you were expecting me to do today, but I'll be reading this, and I'm gonna be happy about it, right? Because Ali Hazelwood does not disappoint. My expectations for this book are immensely high. Like, they are up and above all the limits, right? They're crushing them because every single book by her has been so good. So now my expectations are really high, but I feel like this is gonna hit them, right? Maybe even gonna hit it out of the park. I heard that people who didn't like Deep End that much really enjoyed this one a lot more because it's kind of more back to the roots, which I think I would also benefit from. Because while I did kind of enjoy Deep End, it wasn't my favorite of hers. My favorite book of hers is Love Theoretically, so I'm kind of hoping that I'm gonna get a similar vibe than that book. But I'm just hoping. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye!